Forget your former managers, ignore the ex-pros. As football fans, we all know the real experts drink in pubs. It's funny, it's argumentative, and often it's just plain wrong. Welcome to the Foss Arms Public House and welcome to the Leicester City Pubcast. Hello everyone, welcome to a rattled Foss Arms. This was the show where we were going to be getting all excited about the FA Cup Final, and it is the FA Cup Final preview show. But before then, we've got a bit of nasty business to deal with that overhang from that absolutely shocking performance against Newcastle. To dissect that briefly with me tonight are Killer, good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
And Norm, good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
And our younger fans have had a really good ride over the last few years. We've shown steady progression as a club, and it's broadly gone well. We've had a few setbacks here and there, but the club's been in the right, heading the right direction since we've had these owners, certainly. But our older fans will realise that this weekend reminded us what supporting Leicester City has been like for most of our lives, because there was that utter shambles against Newcastle. Chelsea then went and beat runaway leaders Man City inexplicably. Liverpool then backed it up by winning. And to cap things off, Killer, Derby County stayed up.
By the skin of their teeth. It was absolutely horrific, wasn't it? In fact, we were just saying before the show that I've personally only just got over it. It's like a really, really bad 72-hour hangover. And actually, I don't know about you guys, but Saturday, because it was just teeming down with rain, I went nowhere. I just sat in my settee, literally with my nightgown on, and just staring at a pint glass, thinking, "What on earth happened last night?" I won't lie. It was Friday. I'd had half a day. I was down the pub. I was all upbeat. Right, got to get back home, guys. This is the night where we're going to seal our Champions League place. One Burt later and 4-0 down. And literally, it's just like, I know I've gone to sleep and woke up in a horrific nightmare. And it wasn't just that, was it? It was the individual performances. I mean, so many players had their worst game of the season. Sayuncu, dreadful. Pereira, absolute dog dirt. Maddison just looked like he hadn't bothered to even turn up. It was just horrible, Tim. And even now, talking about it, I'm getting post-traumatic game disorder. I just feel Norm, take over. You talk about it.
What I really want to pick up from that is the fact that you got into your sofa. I can't quite work out how you got into it rather than on it, which just suggests to me it must have been an absolutely terrible game. But
cut the lever open.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've summed it up beautifully. I think that the individual errors for fundamentally every single one of their goals, the team performance, it worried me. It scared me. It reminded me, and I don't really want to bring this up on FA Cup weekend. It reminded me of Bournemouth last year. I thought, oh no, please, this is just one of those. This is just felt like a horrible pivotal moment. But you know something. Not only did we play badly, what a surprise that yet again, and there's been a couple of times this season it's happened. You know, a team's come and we've put in our worst performance of the season. I'm pretty sure that's probably Newcastle's best, and it's just the kind of the way it goes. We still had like 25 shots on target. I don't quite know where that came from, because this time I didn't watch it on replay.
That can't be right. Is that
no, sorry, not 25 shots on target. 25 shots at goal. Sorry, that was it's like
even so. I mean. It
More,
didn't feel like it, did it?
No, that's what I mean. And obviously, when the last time we won beautifully, I did watch things on repeat for quite a lot. Obviously, I didn't watch any of this on repeat. But do you know what? Near the end of the game, if Perez had just managed to bag the third, I just thought there's a couple of minutes left. It would not have surprised me if we'd have gone and got a point. Yeah. But Anyway, we didn't. I'm trying to forget about it. It's difficult to forget about. I also felt terribly ill over the weekend because of all that had gone on. And I just hope this week brings more joy, both against Man United and, of course, at the weekend for our fifth time lucky game.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, this is going to become our FA Cup preview show, and seriously, and this is the thing I'm most annoyed with them about, is that putting a dampener like that on a week like this, it doesn't feel like we're 4 or 5 days away from the FA Cup at the moment, does it? And before we get on to that, we do just need to treat what that has done, not in a lot of detail, but to the table and to the match coming up on Tuesday now against Man U. So a quick scan across the bookies this morning. I can't add any more to what you two have said. I felt at the end of this weekend like I haven't felt like a long time supporting this football club, and it really reminded me of some bad old days. But amongst the research for this show, I did have a quick look across the bookies. So City is still, I mean, Chelsea are now away with the Fairies with Man U and Man City. So it's really a two-horse shootout unless you think West Ham are in it. The bookies don't. Bookies have got West Ham at 14s, but 5 to 6 Leicester and evens Liverpool, Killer.
Yeah, and they're the threat, aren't they? And it's the big worry. We'll talk about the Man U game in a second, but actually, looking at the Solskjaer interview earlier, he seems to be alluding to the fact that he's going to rest players for Tuesday, but he won't be resting them for the Liverpool game, and neither will any Manchester United fan want him to rest them for Thursday. So I think that's a bit of good news. That to some extent is a 6-point game for us, isn't it? I mean, we desperately need Man United to do us a favour. But even then, Liverpool have got winnable games left, and
they've got Burnley and They finish with Palace, don't they? I mean, it's very, very hard to see them not beating Palace.
Yeah.
So we were talking about 66 points, weren't we? I think with Liverpool's running, if they are going to go back to being a bit of the old Liverpool, it does, Norm, doesn't it? We're probably going to need something out of that Man U game.
Well, I've been saying it. We've needed more than 66, as you well know. My view this week is that we need, if we get a point against Man U, then whatever happens with Liverpool and Man U, it will still be in our hands. So if we can beat Chelsea and Spurs, we will be in the Champions League. We need 7 points, and that puts us that will seal it. So for me, the key tomorrow, I mean, obviously we need to be winning the game, but a point wouldn't be disastrous because it is still in our hands. Let's be clear. Chelsea might well have already qualified, so by the time they play us, they're going to be thinking of Champions League and all finals, etc. It might be a dead rubber for them. But I think the really big game actually is Man U Liverpool. Now, if Man U beat Liverpool, and we've got even any kind of result against Man U, then I'm feeling much better. But if Liverpool beat Man U, I think we definitely need 7 points. So I think if Liverpool beat Man U, they'll finish the season on 68. They're going to win they'll get 12 more. They'll get the full 12 points. So Man U for me is the only game they're going to drop points in, and therefore we've got to assume that we need to get at least a point against Man U to keep it in our hands. Because I think Liverpool can get to 69. Am I right? Yeah, they can get to 69. So 7 points gets us on to 70, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm hoping for a win tomorrow, obviously, and then a Man U beating, Man U turning up massively to beat Liverpool on Thursday, knowing what it would mean to their fans to prevent Liverpool getting in the Champions League.
If we're
tremendously unlucky, Killer, to need 70 points. I mean, that virtually never happens. I mean, I've always been pretty confident. I didn't think we would need it, actually, but I've been very confident about that Spurs game. They'll pretty much have nothing. They could have just UEFA, maybe Europa rather to play for. But I think first game back with fans in the King Power, I think we'll be right up for that game. I'm not too concerned about that game. The only thing that's changed for me is that, sort of tending to agree with Norm, I think I think we might need something out of that Man U game, maybe a point.
We should be concerned, guys, about every game. And the reason we should be concerned is we played a Newcastle team on Friday who didn't really have a great day. They're safe, make no mistake about it. They were safe before that game, and they absolutely slaughtered us. So if you're asking me, should we be concerned about Spurs at home, Harry Kane, Son, maybe wanting to put a good performance? Yeah, look, for goodness sake, we've got to be really concerned. And if we're talking about 7 points, you're talking about a point maybe at Old Trafford and then beating a very, very capable Chelsea team.
We ain't going to get 7, though. We're not going to get 7 points.
I just don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. And that's why I think it's actually... We've got the points in the bag, but at this stage, I wouldn't put any money on us qualifying for the Champions League at all.
No, I think the points in the bag is the key thing here. Because what I'm making, because it's Liverpool and they can go on these great runs, and because their running isn't particularly hard after Man U, we're assuming that they're going to win 4 games on the bounce. But they are still 6 points behind us. And let's be clear, by the end of Thursday, they could be 9 points behind us with only 9 to play for. So all of a sudden, with this week could turn out to be the best week basically since 2016.
And if you're me, you have been saying all season, I will quite happily take that FA Cup and forget the top 4. So I'm sticking to that. I don't feel any different. You give me that FA Cup at the end of this week.
But Tim, you are you. You are you. That's the wonderful thing about it. You are you.
Officially me. Right. Let's move this show upbeat and forget our sudden trials and tribulations in the league. Albeit from our lofty position. I can't believe I'm still saying we've got trials and tribulations in the league. But we need to talk about the FA Cup. What an amazing situation we're in. We're in FA Cup week. Historically, we'd be getting ready for club, mastermind, and all those nonsense things that they used to do on the Saturday that was actually brilliant back in the day. And obviously it's lost a bit of its pizzazz, but not for us. To the point that under challenge from Norm's wider family, we have put together songs for Iheanacho. The man who, even when we never show up against Liverpool, the man still scores a goal. So we know that Chelsea are going to need 2 at the weekend at least, because he's bound to score. So we took up the challenge, George. We've each excruciatingly, embarrassingly going to now attempt to sing a new Kelechi Iheanacho song. And first up is Norm. Can I suggest that we perhaps finish each song with a round of applause, however bad it is?
Yeah,
because no one else is going to be applauding.
Well, Norm, the floor is yours for the opening Kelechi Iheanacho song.
Okay, so I'm going to apologise for me and on behalf of you guys as well for my singing voice, but I shall do my very best. Right, here we go. Kelechi, are you the best? We'll see. How will you score at Wembley? Be it with your head, your left foot or your knee. We know your goals will beat Chelsea.
Woo! Yes, good mate. Can we have that again? Can we have that again?
I'm happy to do it again.
Hey, go on.
Right, okay. Kelechi, are you the best? We'll see. How will you score at Wembley? Be it with your head, your left foot or your knee. We know your goals will beat Chelsea.
It's not bad, mate.
Very good, Norm. Very good.
I've got to say, mate, you did message us and say, I've come up with something that the fans will be singing at Wembley.
And it's got some nice echoes of Wembley of Steve Walsh there.
Hasn't it just? I think it's great.
That was my thought process behind it. And obviously, to try and come up with an original song would have been virtually impossible for a man of my limited talent. But yeah, I enjoyed doing it. And come on, Kelechi, we know your goals will beat Chelsea. Come on.
Right, you ready, you two?
Yeah, go on.
We got a young Kelechi. He wasn't very good. We got him from Man City. We paid more than we should. He missed all of his chances. It was so crap to see. He wasn't Frankie Wortho. He was worse than Slimani. Then something special happened. Kelechi found his form. Much better than Ronaldo. A superstar was born. So now we have Kelechi for our FA Cup dream. Leicester's own Maradona. The best there's ever been. Kele, kele, kele. Kele, kele, kele. Repeat to fade.
Brilliant.
Tim, outstanding.
Voice needs a bit of work.
Okay, can you sing that again?
I won't do that.
Maybe next week.
I really won't.
Can you do it as the outro for the show? To fade.
Tim,
Tim, that was brilliant.
That was absolutely outstanding, Tim. Let's get 6,250 copies of those printed out.
Yeah, I'll get them airdropped over Wembley. Right, Killer, come on.
Oh, this feels like after the Lord Mayor show for once. I'm normally the office show off. Oh, right. Okay then. Okay, I've gone a little bit 1970s funk with mine. Okay. Okay. So bear with me. It's a 3-verser, so you'll know when I've finished because I'll give it the thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.
So don't jump in and go, great, Killer. Come on, another verse. Okay, here we go. Just going to do some clicky fingers. We used to think that he was crap. He's scoring goals. He's changing that. Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. In front of goal, he won't mess up. He's gonna lift the FA Cup. Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. He'll be a Fox's legend one day, sponsored by Trumwell's IPA. Cha-cha-cha-cha. Because he's Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. Because he's Iheanacho, cha-cha-cha-cha. Thank you.
That was brave as well, if nothing else.
That was cha-cha-cha tremendous.
Sponsored by Trumwell's.
Brilliant.
Superb stuff. Well, there you go, listeners. There's some options for Wembley if any of you are lucky enough to be down there, or to sing at home with your gran around the telly. And while we're on the subject, and obviously this captured the imagination, we had various people contacting us. I'm going to particularly give a compliment to Colin, who's sent in a sensational full Iheanacho song, The Cranberries Zombies. And we had a chat about what to do about this, Colin. We're so impressed with the time that you've put into this. So if Leicester City win the FA Cup, we're going to invite you on the show to sing that song. So watch this space. We've got to win the cup first. But thank you very much for that and the other suggestions and various hilarious notes that we had in. So thanks very much. So coming on then, guys, to Wembley, the FA Cup, Chelsea. 2 weeks ago, I was feeling this was a 50-50 game, feeling slightly less than that at the moment. Let's start to think a bit about City's team and the starting 11. Norm, we've sort of gone into a bit of a habit of a starting 11 recently. Is it just going to be the one that we've been using, or has that Newcastle game maybe changed a bit of thinking?
Oh, you know what? I've got absolutely no idea how to respond to this. The Newcastle game bothered me. I've quite liked us with the back three. I think the biggest problem was Evans. I think Evans is the key here. I think if Evans is fit, the back three works nicely, because it's pretty apparent to me that he's kind of the linchpin and the one that organises things. And I doubt very much whether it would have gone quite as wrong on Friday if he had been there. So I'm going to assume that he's fit for Saturday, and in which case I think we do play pretty much the same team. I think like certainly three at the back. I would be inclined to play Albrighton and Pereira. I think Maddison. Rodgers has been talking about his fitness, saying that he's trying to get him up to game speed. I mean, it's a bit of a risk trying to get him up to game speed at this stage of the season. But if Maddison's fully fit, then he should start behind Vardy and Iheanacho. But if there's any doubt about that, then he needs to be sacrificed. And I can't believe I'm really saying this, but I think Perez has showed a little bit more in the last couple of games, really. So I would.
What, you would start? Are you talking about starting Perez ahead of Maddison?
If Maddison's not match fit, because Rodgers is saying at the moment that Maddison is not match fit. He's not 100% fit, which is why he's a bit off the pace. And he says you can't get match fit without playing matches, so that's why he's playing him. Now, if the 70 minutes he got on Friday have got him there, and the few minutes he'll go, well, the game time he'll get tomorrow, then that's fine. But we can't go into an FA Cup final playing someone that's not fully fit. He's been saying the same about Pereira as well. So I suppose I've said I'd like Pereira to play, but he's got to play well. He's got to be on form and fit. And if he's not, then don't risk it. Don't play players just for the sake of it. So we've got. I said I was going to play Pereira and Albrighton. Albrighton could come in for Pereira, and Castagna could play. There's loads of options there, but I think that with Evans fit, we'll play 3 at the back, and we probably need to against Chelsea.
What do you think, Killer?
I think Rodgers is being very nice about Maddison in terms of his fitness. I think that's his way. Look, James Maddison should be match fit by now, but what we're talking about here, I think Rodgers is actually using it as a euphemism for horrifically out of form.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you noticed, but when he got subbed on 70, he had that look of astonishment as if to go, I've got plenty left in the tank. And it was almost Rodgers looking at him going, yeah, you might have, but actually playing like this, you're of no use to anybody. He was absolutely abject.
Yeah.
This is the problem that we've got is what do? Do you put an out of form Maddison in, or do you put Perez in? And I'm just not a big fan of his at all. We're going to talk. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm just going to say it one more time. This is where this squad is like an attacking midfielder, and we should have somebody else, and we shouldn't be having this discussion. But if you're asking me the question, I would play Albrighton for Pereira. If Evans is fit, I go 3 at the back. I will play Maddison every day of the week in front of Perez.
Yeah, I would as well. I'm just going to defend Maddison a little bit because when the last couple of games, Maddison gets the ball. So I don't think you'll disagree with this. I mean, he gets the ball and he finds space. He does that anyway. He also generally finds his man if he's looking to pass. His shooting's been miles off. Now, I don't think he's been quite the same since we've been playing with Iheanacho in the team.
No, that's a fair point.
And I just wonder that whether he and I think he's shooting from his shooting's been abysmal, but he's shooting from a long way out. I wonder if there's a bit of frustration in there, and I'm not for a minute. We can't drop Iheanacho, not least because we've done our songs. But there's since Iheanacho has been in the team, I think my feeling is that Maddison's playing a bit deeper. And it isn't suiting
he's out of form, Tim. I don't honestly. You can't qualify somebody shooting as bad as he has just because somebody else is in the team. But the one thing I would say is the Iheanacho thing. You're quite right. We can't drop him, but it's actually caused a bit of a problem in the team, isn't it? Because I think right now against Chelsea, I would like to clog that midfielder. You know what I mean? And actually just play Vardy up top. Yeah. I would love to have Barnes fit and literally just soak 5 across the midfield, literally just clog them up, stop them playing, try and hit them on the break. To some extent now, he's never going to drop Vardy, and who would? And he can't drop Iheanacho because he's the hottest striker in Europe. But you're in a position now where you're almost like, oh, does it quite work though for a game like this? I don't know. I know what I would do. I know what I would do if you absolutely had to, you clogged the midfield up, wouldn't you, against Chelsea?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really, really, really good point. I mean, I think there comes a point where he's sorting the team out so Iheanacho can start, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. And I suppose in some ways it's great the way Iheanacho's playing. I mean, he's been sensational. But had he had 2 or 3 games where he was off form and hadn't scored, then it wouldn't take long to switch back to the formation where I think we've been, in general, most successful, which is one up front. And obviously we've lost Barnes, and so it does make even the one up front and the 2 wingers a bit harder to do. But it's a conundrum, and it would be brave of Rodgers to play the right way against Chelsea and not play the way he wants to keep Iheanacho in the side. But I think that has got to be something that he's seriously considering. A nasty conversation with Iheanacho, wasn't it? But you're going to.
I don't think he's seriously considering leaving him out, Norm, is he?
Well, no, I'm sure he's. I'm sure he's not. But he's got. But Keller's right. We've been scrambling a few results. I mean, apart from the West Brom game, the last 3 games we've struggled a bit. We were lucky against Palace. Southampton wasn't great, was it? And then there's Newcastle. I mean, with this system, we're currently, frankly, hopelessly out of form. Before that, we'd lost West Ham and Man City. So, I've got to turn all negative with talking about the FA Cup. But there is an argument to say that this is not really working for us. We're playing it because Iheanacho's scoring goals, but we're not getting as many points as we should. So I'd rather he wasn't scoring and we were getting more points because someone else had. So
surely you're not saying that he would consider dropping Iheanacho for the cup final?
I don't think he will, but I think like Killer's alluded to, I think that there is probably a better formation to play Chelsea, which includes only one striker. Iheanacho could play, but just play wider or something. It'd be better that he played instead of under, for instance. You could play Albrighton and Iheanacho wide and have Maddison through the middle with behind Vardy. I mean, there are some other ways of keeping him in the side. I think he plays better in a 2. So I think that we don't want to squeeze him into the side for the sake of it. But I think he'll play 2 up front because it has worked to a degree. But if we do analyse our recent results, Iheanacho scored lots of goals, but we haven't got lots of points. So there is an argument there. That's all I'm saying.
I think we're saying the same thing, but at the same time, we're trying to pick the cup final team. I mean, I don't think realistically there's any chance at all of him not playing Iheanacho.
Well, no, and of course, because as soon as Rodgers hears our songs about Kelechi, even if he had any thoughts about it,
when he sees the plane drop,
I don't want to disappoint those guys on the Pubcast, drinking. I like my Trumpwell's IPA, so I'm certainly going to make sure Iheanacho plays whatever.
Well, for what it's worth, I would have Castagna and Albrighton as the wing backs because I don't think Pereira's done enough to oust Albrighton at the moment, and I would Maddison ahead of Perez all day long. In fact, I'm struggling for us to see us beating Chelsea in normal time without Maddison in the team, to be honest. I think we're going to need a good game out of Maddison, and there's no way he's not going to play Iheanacho and Vardy. So, I think let's hope for a good game from Maddison. What about Chelsea? I know, Killer, you've been said 2 or 3 times this season you think indeed he's the best midfielder of his type in the Premier League. Watched Chelsea with a little bit more interest in the last 10 days. They've got this decent little fella, runs around the middle of the park, Kante.
Yeah, he looks... I've got to say, at the time where I said I thought indeed he was the best holding midfielder, I don't know if you recall, but Kante was going through a really odd period, wasn't he? He was in and out of injury. He just looked like they didn't quite know where to fit him into this system. Predictably, now they know exactly where to fit him in the system. He's the best holding midfielder in the world when he's absolutely on his game. You look at this Chelsea team now. It's easy for us to say we should be confident we've already beaten Chelsea. We beat Frank Lampard's Chelsea. The Chelsea that we see now is a more superiorly coached beast. It's going to be really, really tough. The only thing you look at Chelsea and think to yourself is they haven't really got an out-and-out striker, have they? They haven't got a natural goal scorer. And you can definitely get at them at the back. There's no doubt about that. You know, West Brom proved that. But what they look to be for me. And obviously, the very fact that they've got to the Champions League final, they've turned City over in the FA Cup, they've turned them over in the league, and you start to think to yourself, wow, this is a team where he's actually now getting the very best out of them. And what worries me on Saturday is whether or not Tuchel is one of these guys where he's a bit of a Rafa Benitez. He's a one-game maestro. He can stack his team up for a game and he can win that game. And you think to yourself, blimey, that's just going to make the challenge a bit harder, I think.
I mean, I've got to say, I think he looks absolutely top draw as a manager. He looks to me, we've got Guardiola, we've got Klopp. I think you're probably going to throw him into that sort of, well, he already was really before he came to England, that sort of level of manager. And, the difference that he's made to them. I mean, I sort of see them in three areas. I do agree with you being able to get at them, Killer. And clearly, we know all about Chilwell. Fantastic going forward. But again, you can absolutely get at him going at the back. And even the last couple of games, I mean, Real Madrid, they took Real Madrid to pieces, but there were a couple of times he got exposed.
Yeah.
So I think the defence is their strength. Then as you work through the team, midfield, he seems to have sorted. He's playing Ziyech. Lampard wasn't doing that. Kante seems to be back to his best. He's got something going there. Mount, who, must admit, I don't quite see the complete picture with Mount that Southgate and the media seem to be going on about. But there's no question. I mean, I think Chelsea fans see him as one of their very, very best players. You've already mentioned it earlier, though. Up front, that's where they're very weak. I'm sure they're going to sign a striker. I mean, Timo Werner looks hopelessly out of his depth. Specifically, he's often offside. He seems completely unable to beat the offside trap. And then Havertz supporting him in some games. He seems to have improved under Tuchel compared to Lampard, where he was all over the place. I think Norm and I were chatting a couple of weeks ago. I agree with something Norm said off air, and I'm assuming you still say this, Norm. I'd be more worried if they play Giroud.
Yes, he's the big man, and he's a decent goal scorer, and he does tend to do quite well against us. So yeah, I would. I think I'd prefer to see Havertz and Werner around rather than Olivier Giroud. But I'm sure Giroud will come on at some point to try and help save the game for Chelsea after Iheanacho's done his business.
What do we think, guys, about how we might win this game? If you're Rodgers, we've talked a little bit about formation. I think, we could debate the Perez versus Maddison point, but we probably think we're going to start with Maddison. We're probably going to go 3 across the back if Evans is even 80% fit. So let's assume that's the setup with whichever wing backs he picks, along with Vardy and Iheanacho up front. How killer can we win this game, do you think? Chelsea are going to be favourites now. I think they'll be fairly clear favourites.
Yeah, look, there's not a massive gulf in between the teams. Obviously, we know that. But I just suspect that if you look at Chelsea now under Tuchel, that he's just taken them to another level. I don't think there's any doubt they're going to compete for the Premier League title next season. So you just look at their team, look at the squad, and go, right here, right now, on paper, they are better than us. So what are we going to do to counteract that? Well, let's not get scared. The last thing I want to do is that horrible passive Leicester City team that don't do anything, a bit like we did against Manchester City. You know what I mean? Just don't really lay a glove on them. I think we've got to match them across the pitch. But then you're looking for those variables in football which allow for a bit of a cup shock. And what I mean by that is stop them playing, let them get frustrated. Hopefully then we can start playing well. We're looking for our big name players then to turn it on a little bit. And I'm thinking Maddison, I'm thinking Tielemans. That's nice and solid at the back. Then we've got a chance then if we can compete. And I think the one thing that we perhaps will need on the day, in fact, there's two more things. One, a great performance from Kasper Schmeichel. I think if he wins man of the match, it means we've lifted the cup, which would be great. And the second thing is we just need a little bit of luck on the day. Just a little bit of luck. Just that one thing where you go, wow, that could just be the difference over the 90 minutes. And then who knows? We've got a real chance. There's no doubt about it.
You wouldn't, Norm, say, I think we're probably accepting that we're going to be second favourites for this game. You wouldn't therefore sort of go against what Killer's saying a bit and actually play more negatively, go back to the old Leicester City, stick people behind the ball and just play on the counter.
No, not at all. Because I don't think playing on the counters negative. I still think we try and do that to a point, but we're just a bit more patient, and we if we get the opportunity, we do. If you'd have come to me first, I would pretty well have said what Killer's said, and I think for me, it's not worrying too much about show Chelsea respect. They're a really good side. Don't deny it's going to be a tough game, but I think that, and you mentioned about us being like passive. Playing and worrying about what the other team's going to do doesn't suit us. We need to get on the front foot. But if we play well, if we play well, we have got a really good chance of beating them. We've got some great players in that side, and Vardy's been struggling a bit recently, hasn't he, with his goals? I mean, he's been getting in the places and he's been assisting. This is the kind of game where, for Vardy's CV, he comes good this weekend, and we've got a real chance, because he could tear their defence apart. A couple of through balls from Maddison and Tielemans, and it's a whole different kettle of fish. So whilst it's going to be a challenge, I just want us to see us go for it. The worst thing would be at the end of this game to come away having lost would obviously be the worst thing, but to come away having lost and not really felt that we've put in a performance that want to be proud at the end of Saturday. Want to be proud that we've put in everything that we could. And if we lose to a better team on the day, then you know what, we'll accept that, and we'll go on and try and get to the cup final and win it another year. But I cannot stand the idea of going to the cup final, passing it around the back, having 60% of possession, one shot on target, and losing 1-0 to an 80th minute Havertz winner. Not interested.
Do you remember the League Cup game against Spurs when we lost? And it was just a horrible day out, wasn't it? Because it was one of them. They even went down to 10 men. But you just got the feeling we just really played within ourselves. So I totally agree with you there, Norm. Look, I've never been scared of watching Leicester City and thinking to myself, I desperately don't want to see them lose. Okay, I have no problem with Leicester losing, but what I would like to see is, I know it sounds a bit corny, but I'd love to see a great cup final, because just recently, the quality of the games, I think, has been really, really poor. So if you offered me now, Leicester lose 4-3, do you know what? I'll take it.
No, come on, Killer, for goodness sake, it's the FA Cup.
No, I would take it. I don't fear that. What I fear is 2-0. And you go, brilliant game. One shot on target. 9 shots wide. 37% possession. Stuck back. That's my fear. That is my fear. But we'll get on to the score prediction anyway.
I mean, look, we're not going to take a defeat up front. I know where you're coming from, though, because there's been quite a lot of fallout since the Carabao Cup final, hasn't it, with Spurs fans saying, against a better side, they just didn't even get it a shot. But we've got certainly a much better chance than they had against Man City. So you mentioned predictions, then let's come on to predictions. So it won't surprise you, listeners, to know that we got the Newcastle predictions wrong. All of us, because none of us thought we were going to ship 4 at home to Newcastle. I'm not even going to go through what we said. We thought we were going to win. We didn't. Right, so our points remain as they were, with Killer on 14, me on 24, Norm on 27, and double game week. I love the thought that I can say this. A double game week, including the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
So, Man U and Chelsea prediction, please, Norm. The Chelsea prediction is after 90 minutes.
Okay. Well, I've predicted Leicester to win every time I've predicted, and I cannot change that. So I am going to say that we will win at Old Trafford sensationally, 2-1. And the FA Cup final, 3-2 to Leicester in 90 minutes.
Come on, Leicester!
Killer. To give Killer his wonderful cup final.
But the right way round.
Yeah.
I love everything you just said. I'm going to go 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. I think Solskjaer will rest a few players, but so I think we'll get something there. And do you know what, Norm? Seriously, my prediction was exactly the same as yours. A cracking Coventry Spurs style cup final, 3-2 with a Kelechi Iheanacho diving header Keith Houchin
Keith
style
Houchin.
in 97 minutes. To see Leicester City fans running onto the pitch and doing what Scotland did. Do you remember at Wembley that time? Breaking the crossbar.
Police horses rearing.
Oh, COVID tests being thrown up in the air.
and our song sheets being ripped up and joined.
Yeah.
Uses ticker tape.
Right, 2-3. I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say 1-1 for both.
Oh.
But don't worry, we're going to win the cup in extra time, folks. It's fine. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Do either of you want to add anything in this momentous week before we finish?
Can I just say, for everybody travelling down to the game, have a fantastic day out. For those of you that can't get to the game, and obviously it's horrible that there's so many Leicester fans are going to miss out, but do enjoy it. Do enjoy the occasion. Get round your mates' houses or whatever. Have a beer. Do whatever you want to do. Have a great time. But just finally as well, just want to say good luck to the boys. Just go and do your best. And if you don't bring the cup home, at least bring back some pride.
Well said, Killer.
Well said,
Beautiful.
indeed.
And rather than fade us out with my song, as you requested, we'll just do the normal music. Come on, City. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the Leicester City Pubcast, please subscribe and tell everyone about it. If you hated the Leicester City Pubcast, please keep it to yourselves. See you next week.